Hey there, part-timers. Once again, this is Anton from Anton Bay. Thank you guys for stopping by the collection room on what's kind of an overcast afternoon here on the day of this shooting. Not very common thing here in New Mexico to get an overcast day, but I am enjoying it and the afternoon off, so I thought I would do this haul video. As you guys know, I used to be a lot more wealthy in comics than I am currently. I had 150 or so long boxes, tons of series, 40 years of X-Men stored up, you know, everything. Very, very fortunate. However, during that time, I had a pretty good run of Spider-Woman. This series, the old 70s Spider-Woman, but I didn't have the whole set. There's 50 issues. It was not something I found. I would order a few here and there. Never did close out the whole series. Had the first appearance, which is in some other book, which I hope to get someday. But I was enamored with the covers, and of the books I sold, there was a handful that was very, very hard to sell when I needed to. One of them was my Dazzler series that I just recently reacquired. My Alpha Flight series, which is the first big set I've reacquired. Guardians of the Galaxy was something I was lucky enough to pick up. And I recently acquired the full run of Spider-Woman, the vintage 70s. And I am super thrilled with that. And that's why I am talking about it. That's why I'm holding this issue up. This is simply one of the most beautiful color palette books that I was ever exposed to. Her red and yellow uniform is just, it just looks perfect. You got a lot of B villain characters, my favorites, not the main books. You guys know I am not like a mainstream comic guy. If it's Spider-Man, Batman, I'm less likely to have that stuff. It's your side characters. I always thought this guy looked like Hordak, and I've had this issue several times, but now I have the complete run, and I am super thrilled. I am very thrilled. This was a very expensive set to get my hands on, but it was the cheapest of the sets available by about $200, so I'm very happy with that. I'm very happy with the quality I was able to acquire for that price, which I don't really want to divulge because it was a lot more than I'm used to paying for comics, period, in any way. But this is pretty much my pinnacle set. I can't imagine a different series that I would want anymore, that would make me this excited. There's obviously there's small, you know, branched off titles and stuff like that, but this just hits the sweet spot of age, the graphics, the colors, the non-mainstream, the side character feel, and it wasn't so expensive that I won't actually enjoy reading them. I still won't bag or board these because I'm done with that. I'm not collecting that way anymore. I don't want to collect that way anymore. I will read these. I am gonna enjoy reading these. I don't know if I'm gonna feel comfortable rolling these up in my pocket and taking them to work with me. I'm not. I'm just gonna be sure I'm not. These were just a little too expensive to do that. But I am gonna put them in a box, and I'm gonna read them, and I'm gonna love them. I'm not just gonna leave these in plastic. I want them where I can feel them, enjoy these things. These are fantastic. Dark alleys, bright contrast costumes. I really loved the old Spider-Woman cartoon as well. If you guys didn't know, they made one in the I think early 80s. And I was always a big fan. I found it here several years ago on, I think it was YouTube. I found it, and I could watch most of them on YouTube. Or maybe it was on some pirated Disney Plus channel thing. I don't have Disney Plus anymore, but when I did, I think I could get them on there. The whole series, so it was pretty cool. Anyway, let's bore you guys with all that. Issue number 12 here. This is 1 year in. There's just an aesthetic that this book has. It's got all the dark, nighttime-y stuff like Cloak and Dagger or a werewolf comic would have. You know what I mean? But you've got a bright red and yellow Spider-Woman outfit, and it really works for me. The aesthetic of this just works. It has a darker, more abandoned tone than a lot of Spider-Man stuff. It does not have the quips and humor of like She-Hulk. It literally has a grimier 70s feel to it. I can't get over. I am so impressed with it. And these issues are in fantastic shape as far as what I wanted out of them. So I am very happy to have them. Issue 17. As far as this costume still being like popping, I also appreciate you can get this exact costume if you're in Fortnite, if you're one of those guys. I play Fortnite still, and you can still get a Jessica Drew Spider-Woman costume that is exactly like this. So the costume is iconic. I know they've switched a lot of costumes, and I know there's other Spider-Woman costumes, but they do keep coming back to this one, and there's a darn good reason. It's because this is a great costume. It just works. It's red, yellow, it's those Hulkamania colors, brother, that it just works. I like that we made it to issue 20 before we had to throw Spider-Man in. Another book that I'm a really big fan of is old She-Hulk stuff. I don't ever see being able to afford those or buy those, but even the old sensational She-Hulk, I think, brought Spider-Man in on issue 2 or 3. And as she commented, she's like, really? I have a guest star already? Crazy guest stars is another reason why I love my Dazzler series, but yeah. Dazzler, as much as I love the colors, Dazzler is a book completely of the 80s. And this just steps back a decade. And I don't have a ton of comics from the 70s era. And they do have just a different feel. This issue 24, we are up into the 1980. But, you know, this was before I was born. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. They never do the Spider-Man meme with her pointing. It's always Spider-Man. Issue 26. Yeah. Is there big sets of comic books that I would still love? Yeah, but I'm never going to get those back. I'm never going to get all those issues of Uncanny X-Men back. She-Hulk, I'm probably never going to be able to afford all the opening scenes of, or opening series of, you know, Savage She-Hulk. Sensational She-Hulk has gone up in price so much. It's not something I can probably ever afford 60 issues of that. And those are later era stuff. And this being a little bit earlier than that, I can't get over it. I can't get over the vibe. I just love this. That's why I'm so excited. This was a Grail series for me, and it's probably the peak of series I'm going to ever acquire again. It is only 50 issues, and like I said, I will try to track down her first appearance, which is, I think, in some Marvel Team Up or Marvel something book 32. I can't remember. I used to have it. That's what's nuts. And like I said, when I sold comics and when I cleaned house on everything, this was a series that was really hard to sell. Because for the age, the era, and the price, I was like, man, I'm probably not going to get these back. And it is just, it's absolute luck and wonderful luck that I am able to do so. It's been with the blessings of some gifts from people that I was able to purchase this series and still pay, you know, bills and live. So those are very, very appreciated. I am very grateful. And just the eBay seller who cut me a pretty good deal on these. Very happy with it. Beautiful covers. I could rant on these covers. But, I mean, look at your setting here. Dark, creepy cave. That's one of the things that really pops is you're always in this dark atmosphere. And her red suit just almost makes no sense to be in there. And that's why it works. It just looks great. Looks like she's beating up a woman banshee. And we got Juggernaut in the background. I love it when Juggernaut shows up in your comic book. As far as like guest villains, Juggernaut is fantastic because he shows up. He works with basically any superhero in any genre. You can have the Juggernaut show up. He originated in X-Men, but he totally works everywhere else. Another villain that works perfectly everywhere else, oddly enough, is very similar. It's Abomination. I love whenever Abomination pops up in another person's comic book because it just works. I do have to point out, we do have interference going on. We have the X-Men showing up in here. I see Colossus, Siren, Storm, Angel, her deadliest foes, the X-Men. Sure they're not. I see this trend done a lot modern-wise, where you put the background as the exact same color as the uniform that they're wearing. This is the earliest I've ever seen it, and this just looks amazing. Just like floating hands because she's in a red background. They did a really cool job. It's a really cool cover. Issue 39. Just looks great. Issue 40. Less fan of the blue backgrounds. We should avoid those. But we're not going to. We're going to pop in another one. But we are advertising Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends beginning September 12th. I have to check the year on this comic. This is December 81. I was still not born yet. I would not be born. No, I was born yet. I was very young. I was born January 81. So, yeah. Cool book. I remember watching Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends when I was very, very, very little. And I've always a big fan of the Win a 10-speed covers. I don't know why. They just threw this weird ad on a bunch of comics. And to me, it always takes me out of the comic and puts me into that era of when winning a 10-speed would be the coolest thing in the world. That was a long time ago. I don't know if I would ride a 10-speed if I had one right now. There's too many hills in this town. But it is what it is. Thought it was great. Love seeing that because it reminds me of it's comics' place in my life. Issue 43. I think it's the 43. We've got Silver Samurai showing up. They made a shockingly good Marvel Legends out of that guy. And of all the Marvel Legends I sold, I kept my Jessica Drew Spider-Woman because there's no way I'm parting with that. She had the fuller figured Moonstone body mold. It was great. Issue 44. Good stuff. I think it's just lighting, but this green Spider-Man just looks dumb. And of course it's not the real Spider-Man. And I don't think he's green inside, but it looks weird because it can't really be him. I'm like, well, of course not, he's green. And I was like, oh, it's old lighting. It's an old lighting effect in comics, so maybe I'm stupid. But Spider-Woman versus the Mandroids. I do think he was an android. Anyway, this is issue 46. Green cover works good with her, much better than the blue. Now here in the last issues, they did a March change, which I was not wild about. It's the all-new Spider-Woman, and they changed the logo. And I don't like it when comic books change the logo. Unless the logo is really terrible or impossible to read. But there's nothing wrong with this. Because I like stacking them and having rows and rows and rows, you know, of the different titles. I think it looks cool. I love seeing the variations that they came up with. This one's yellow and black. This one's red and white. This one's white and red. This one's yellow and red. This one's black and white. Red and white. X-Men are the best on it. They do the most different two-tone variations. But I'm just not... I don't hate this. I just hate that they changed it. Especially this close to the end of the series. You were so close. Just leave it the same. Or if this had been the title the whole time, I'd have been fine with that. But it's not as much of a Spider-Man. Look at your shadowing on this. You got this big black line of the depth of the letters. That's a very Spider-Man themed thing. And this just is not the same. It's not near as two-dimensional. It's just a big black or a big plaqued on thing. Don't love it as much. And I really just wish for the last, 4 issues, you guys could have held on. You kept that title, that same for the last 4 issues, would have made it a lot. I would have been happier. I'm okay with it, but I would love that to have been that way. Another great cover. It looks like we're being attacked by, Gypsy Moth. This is one of the best names, Gypsy Moth, for a villain. It just cracks me up. Change in cover as it is. This is one of the best covers. Her versus Tigra on a predominantly green background, yellow lettering. This thing just pops. It really looks cool. Second to last issue. It works. And this one I had to look at a long time to really make out what in the world's going on here. But issue 50 is not only a thicker issue, this is a somehow photorealistic cover. This is a cosplayer or model, would have been back in the day. I don't think they had cosplayers in 1981 as much. But this is a live action person, photoreal cover. If you look closely, a lot of the side characters and people in there, this is a set photo cover with a Spider-Woman logo on it. And I think that's really cool. I applaud the idea. I applaud the whole thing because I love the photo cover. Shame that we had to wait for our last issue for that, but we got it. There's some sort of like overlay animation to it. The startling conclusion to the saga of the Spider-Woman. Anyway, it's a beautiful series. I can't say enough how excited I am by it, how pleased I am to share it with you, how pleased I was to get it. At the height of my comic collecting, I did not have this full series, but I really loved it. And so to have sold what I had and be able to get the rest and reclaim the whole thing, that is a big deal. I feel very, very fortunate to do so. I'm restacking them all in order because now I've been sticking them off order. Now they're all messed up. I'm not a big advocate of blowing a lot of money on books anymore. I like cheap stuff, but there is still something to be said about claiming a grail, an item that you maybe don't deserve, maybe can't afford, maybe have always wanted, maybe holds a special place and a special interest to you, and hold out for that. Take my advice, don't buy a whole bunch of dumb stuff. It's not the grail. Save your money for the grail. Just get the grail. Otherwise, if you buy a bunch of runners-ups your whole life, you'll never get the grail. Anyway, take that for what you will. 50 issues, Spider-Woman. I'm super happy with it. I'm very pleased to share it. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, you know what? I never say this, but hit like or subscribe. If you feel like giving this video a like or subscribe, do so. I recommend not doing the announcer thing. I don't do that with any channel. I don't think you should either. That's annoying. But there it is. There's my set of comics. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. You guys are the best. Anyway, thank you, part-timers. Peace out. Bye.